wrestling fans believed that the Iron Sheik was every despicable thing that he presented himself to be.
One of the perfect bad guys or heels in wrestling.
And everybody wanted to come and see him, hoping that he'd get beat up.
Iron Sheik! Iran! Iran! Iran!
I've never ever been a wrestling fan, and because of that I never really go to wrestling matches, and I haven't had occasion to see him in the ring that much. I was there the evening he beat Bob Backlund for the original belt back in the WWF in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Through our 25 years of marriage, naturally I've been to many arenas and seen it, but basically I keep my nose in a book and read, and occasionally when his match is on, of course, I pay attention because I like to critique him. I like to let him know what I think he's doing good and what I think he could do to make the show even better.
I've seen my dad in wrestling matches before, and it doesn't bother me so much because I know that he's strong and can handle any pain that might be inflicted upon him. It doesn't bother me.
When my husband gets hurt, I basically feel like, oh no, I hope to God it's not too bad. I hope he can recover from this. And it has happened through the years that he's dislocated his shoulder or hemorrhaged his eye and detached his retina.
Is due in large part to his Iranian heritage. To find his actual roots, we must travel to the old
watermelon, whatever. Their job was farming, the farmer people. My mother, father, and background and brother. I had Ali and Muhammad and Hassan and Ali and Masumi, my sister. And I was maybe 5 years old.
At the time of his birth, World War II was in its third year. And just a year prior to Koz's birth, the Shah of Iran had failed to expel all Axis nationals, which had led to an Allied occupation of Tehran. The Shah had then abdicated in favor of the Crown Prince Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Across Europe, Hitler's forces had what looked like a stranglehold, and by the fall of 1942, Germany and its Axis friends ruled an empire that stretched from the gates of Moscow to the shores of the Atlantic, from the deserts of Africa to the Arctic Ocean. In Bombay, India, Mahatma Gandhi's plea to end English rule provoked fierce riots, while on the home front, kids in Britain and North America cheered on their movie hero Flash Gordon as he endlessly fought the planet Mongo's master villain, Ming.
Captain Ronald. Let me talk to him. Listen, Ming. If you harm Dale Arden, I'll come there and kill you with my bare hands.
I am not interested or disturbed by the ravings of a madman. Dale has not been harmed. She will tell you so herself. Step here, my child.
Flash. Get me out of here. Get me out.
Dale, listen to me. Don't be afraid. We'll get you out somehow.
The Vaziri family were far removed from these events, and by the time Koz had reached the age of 6, his family had left the farm and relocated in the city of Tehran.
We had a gym business. People come work out and training, and then have a good shower, sauna, massage, physical therapy. My father and mother, they had a business. I was 7 years old. Most famous sport in Persia at that time, that age, I was a freestyle wrestling and Greco-Roman, and a lot of champions come to my club of the father. I started wrestling in old country, Tehran, because only wish I had in my life to be someday world champion, Olympic champion, because it was a very popular sport that times in Iran, capital of the Iran, Tehran, and I was lucky. I was around a bunch of great wrestler, and that was my hobby, and that was my number one major sport in the high school, wrestling. 1964 Tokyo, Japan, the greatest champion we had, Ghulam Reza Takhti. And besides the wrestling, people love Takhti because Takhti luck was Jesus. like much people respect Takhti. He was the greatest human being we had in the Persian history. Besides wrestling, he was the biggest babyface, biggest human being with a heart. And then they said Takhti commit suicide. That's against my religions. To Takhti commit suicide. So I'll be honest with you, since Takhti died or killed the Takhti, sport to me was nothing like before. But still, I cannot forget about my sport, wrestling. So that's why I said I'm going to compete. I'm going to still love my sport, wrestling, but different country. I was lucky I made it to Minnesota, to America. I was an AAU champion besides Iranian Olympic wrestling champion, #1, toughest sport in the world. That's because I go in the ring, I wear that Iranian Olympic wrestling singlet, and also I wear America, and I love wrestling. And only thing I did all my life, Ya Allah, Ya Muhammad, Ya Ali. Like I said, I was lucky I grew up in the oldest country in the world, Iran, with the freestyle and Greco-Roman toughest sport in the world game and Olympic game and army. And I come to the Minnesota, which was good first years. I was a coach, assistant coach, assistant Mr. Allen Rice too. I make the team be the best for amateur. But later on I found out it's good to have that gold medal. All of us is there. People never forgot. But I found that I cannot eat the gold medal. If I take it to the supermarket, I cannot get a banana or an apple with my gold medal. So I decided to go professional to make better living.
The way I first met my husband was one evening. A good friend of mine, Gene Kacholik, and I were at our favorite hangout called the Left Guard, which was a bar restaurant in Minneapolis where all the famous sports celebrities would always go to in the evenings. And she and I were there that evening, and we were just standing around talking to one another. And my husband-to-be, Kaz, came up and introduced himself. And what really struck me about him was his great looks, but also the fact that he was foreign. So that really intrigued me, and I felt like I need to know this guy. I need to give him more than the simple brush off like you normally would anyone who comes up to you. And it worked out really great, and we've been together ever since.
His dynasty dated all the way back to 1925.
By the year 1978, events back in Iran were to have formidable repercussions against the Iron Sheik, who was now a resident in the USA. Rioting had begun in Iran against the rule of the Shah. The opposition was orchestrated by the Muslim religious leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Within a year, the Shah had been ousted after having ruled Iran for 28 years. The Muslim followers of the Ayatollah were now in control. And soon after, an Iranian mob stormed the US embassy in Tehran, and 66 American embassy staff were taken hostage. It was to take 444 days before the American hostages were freed. During this period, the Iron Sheik, because of his overt display of support for both the Ayatollah and his Iranian heritage, became the focal point of American fanatic hatred against this new regime in Iran, and specifically in relation to the hostage crisis.
At that time I was married, I was American, and I was wrestling professional, which was I think 1980, that area was, and I was in New York, and anytime I'm coming in the ring with my country flag, red and white and blue, or whatever Ayatollah picture was on there, my country flag to go in the ring wrestling. And that was the roughest time I had with the wrestling fans, because with that hostage situation and Ayatollah Khomeini keep American people, 52 people for 444 days. That was my scariest day in America, my nervous day or my worried day, because the fans didn't like me because I was Iranian. But also people respect Khosrow Waziri, Iron Sheik, because I was the best Olympic, amateur, professional wrestler till I can be the WWF champion. I was sometimes very nervous, very worried, because I had a wife and 3 babies. And I want to say thanks to the God, thanks to the Jesus, thanks to all my wrestling fans, they didn't get invited, they didn't get too much excited to hurt me. And I'm very happy, and I want to say hello to all of them.
He's always thinking ahead for our safety. And because of that, I know that he genuinely cares about us.
I'm very proud of my dad. I think he's one of the most amazing people in the world. And he's accomplished so much, and he's always there for his family, and he's a great, great person.
The Iron Sheik has another side about him besides being a soldier from Iran and a bodyguard to some of the top politicians of his native land. He also has a side of him where he loves the United States of America. Once I visited him in Dallas, Texas, and he took me to the JFK Museum, and here's this big burly wrestler where they reenact the assassination of JFK, one of the most beloved presidents of all time. And when I looked over at the Iron Sheik, there was tears rolling down his eyes as they were rolling down mine. It's a very emotional thing because you relive this tragic moment in history, and it shows another side of the man that many people aren't privy to knowing about him. But truly a patriot.
From Tehran, Iran, the Iron Sheik.
Having grown up in Iran, the Iron Sheik was as tough as they came.
They know that country by 2 things, oil and wrestling. Toughest, roughest sport in the world.
An amateur wrestling champion for the Iranian National Army, before transitioning into sports entertainment. By channeling political tension for his homeland, Sheik quickly built a career as one of the most despised ring villains of his era.
He was, as advertised, an Iranian wrestler who had wrestled for that country in the Olympics.
He didn't really have to say anything, just walk into a room with a flag and his look and his boots.
There was a lot of times I feared for Iron Sheik's well-being. The most hated wrestler of all time.
Cameraman, zoom!
With an impressive physique and brute strength,
Greatest wrestler I've ever managed.
Sheik's devastating camel clutch dismantled his opponents. And in 1983, the Iron Sheik shocked the world.
He's sitting right on that lower back. Oh no! Arnold's going through something into the ring. We have a new champion.
With one of the most iconic title wins in WWE history.
They know I'm the real Olympic champion. Now I'm the world heavyweight champion.
Becoming the first Iranian-born WWE champion.
So disgusted with Americana.
Sheik's ability to elicit strong emotions from fans.
They have a lot of hate in their hearts for this man.
Was instrumental to WWE's skyrocketing popularity during the 1980s.
He acted like he's spitting on America. He knew how to press buttons.
Sheik's impact and notoriety are undeniable, and in 2005, he was immortalized into the WWE Hall of Fame.
God bless all my wrestling fans and have a good day. Yeah!
From his captivating persona to his unparalleled charisma,
Iron Sheik's legacy is the ability to be a great bad guy.
He maintained his popularity because he was so good at what he did.
The Iron Sheik's legendary career has earned him a special place in the hearts of fans worldwide.
Thank you for the memories, and thank you for paving the way. Iron Sheik.
Over the arm. Dive over. If you made it through the 14 weeks of training camp, you earned the right to become a professional wrestler. And then Vern would come to you personally and tell you whether you made it or not.
From that class,
Ali Waziri, nice girl, but not enough I could work till I can make a good living. I said, I'm tired. I don't want to work a good guy anymore. I want to be a bad guy. And then Mrs. Gania tell me I have a new name, good name for you.
You know, my mother, we were having dinner, and that's when she said, good name for you would be the Iron Sheik.
The Iron Sheik completely changed his physical appearance, and he became the Iron Sheik. And it was almost this symbol, this foreign menace, that was what so many Americans feared at the time.
Right now, it's all one way. The Sheik is definitely carrying it to him.
As he developed and personality came out of him, all of a sudden, the light went on and he was the Iron Sheik.
Introducing the challenger, the Iron Sheik.
Some 60 Americans are now beginning their 6th day of captivity inside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran.
The Iranian students took Americans hostage at the American Embassy. It lasted for 444 days. It was broadcast nightly on television.
All the medals, I didn't buy it, soldier. I won the Red Olympic 60 at Mexico City. Now, in the Los Angeles, I'm already getting excited. I'm on the doctor, bring me down. Los Angeles, California. I promise all the Iranian people, all the Arab people, all the rare American, Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium. I'm already excited. Soldier, I lost something to Hulk Hogan. I'm going to take it from you. خدمت همه شنوندگان ایرانی عزیز که در لس آنجلس زندگی میکنن سلام عرض میکنم، مخصوصا مرتضای تکیه مرتضای تکیه سلیمان خاقانی نوکر همه شما هستم. ایران the Iron Sheik آیت الله بلاسی همه دنیا پهلوانای ایران میشناسه. Soldier, Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium. I bring you down and I'm gonna kick you just like I kicked the lazy camel. Woo! Woo! You people know 6 years nobody beat Mr. Bob Backlund, the most famous arena in the world, Madison Square Garden. I put him in the camel clutch. Give me hell yeah! I said to my coach, Mr. Gania, I am the WWE champion, and Mr. McMahon Sr. make me to be the real WWE champion. The hand fit me, I cannot cut that hand. Damn right? Yeah.
Introducing the challenger, the Iron Sheik.
Wrestling fans believed that the Iron Sheik was every despicable thing that he presented himself to be.
One of the perfect bad guys or heels in wrestling.
And everybody wanted to come and see him, hoping that he'd get beat up.
The Iron Sheik! Iran! Iran! Iran!
His look was believable. The way he talked was believable. He was very easy to hate.
Oh, look at that. Good one's going to break his back.
The whole package of being a wrestler in that era was pretty dark.
The use of cocaine was prevalent.
He was developing a very serious drug problem.
Instead of battling opponents, they are fighting drug charges.
This is undoubtedly the most painful part of the Iron Sheik story.
He screamed, he howled, he cried.
I cried for her so much. I miss her so much.
Sheik gave them maybe the highest element of a heel.
The biggest box office attraction that the industry had really ever seen.
Capacity crowd on the case of the Iron Sheik.
People were throwing stuff at him. You know, that's how much heat that people just didn't like him.
Sheik now going to work.
It's easy to not like him. He was so different.
The Sheik loved being hated.
The hope's got to come out of it. It's over.
Okay. USA!
It needs a camel clutch applied, and I'm sure that's all she wrote.
Cosgrove did the right thing at the right time and became larger than life.
everything ready so the people come. And then they need me to be referee, I change the colors, I come referee. If they need me to be wrestling, and then I'm wrestling too.
It was hard for him at first because he had to travel around to all the small matches around the Midwest. He had to learn the whole business, and he's starting out in probably his mid-30s.
I mean, this was a man that was coming from being the bodyguard of the Shah of Iran to now living this simpler life and started from scratch. He wasn't the Iron Sheik then. I mean, this was just Khosrow Vaziri.
Khosrow Vaziri realized he wasn't going back to Iran, and he was enjoying the life of an American. So he's living in Minnesota. Why not go out with a nice, sweet-natured, pretty Scandinavian girl? And that's how he met his wife.
I met my future husband on a nice summer evening, and we just hit it off immediately, like we'd known each other forever.
He was living in Minnesota, and he had met his wife. And so every Saturday night, as soon as we were done wrestling, he would drive to Minnesota, no matter where we were, to visit Carol, and then we'd come back for the Monday show.
Kaz doesn't do anything halfway. We saw each other if he was in town every night. He was quite intense. We had Marissa in August 1976, and it was an easy birth compared to the later ones that I had.
He loved his wife and his family, and he did everything he could to be Khosrow Vaziri for them.
My understanding is that when the Sheik first started professional wrestling, it was more about his history as an athlete, his Olympic wrestling. He wore a singlet, he had hair, he was handsome, he was in shape, but he wasn't getting anywhere. He wasn't getting where he wanted to go.
When the Sheik broke into wrestling, there was no character, and his entire game was very dry.
Ali Vaziri, nice girl, but not enough. I get work so I can make a good living. I say, I'm tired. I don't want to work a good guy anymore. I want to be a bad guy. And then Mrs. Ganya tell me I have a new name, good name for you.
You know, my mother, we were having dinner, and that's when she said, good name for you be the Iron Sheik.
The Iron Sheik completely changed his physical appearance, and he became the Iron Sheik. And it was almost this symbol, this foreign menace, that was what so many Americans feared at the time.
Right now, it's all one way. The Sheik is definitely carrying it to him.
As he developed and personality came out of him, all of a sudden, the light went on and he was the Iron Sheik.
Introducing the challenger, the Iron Sheik.
Some 60 Americans are now beginning their 6th day of captivity inside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran.
The Iranian students took Americans hostage at the American Embassy. Lasted for 444 days. It was broadcast nightly on television.
This flag was burned Tuesday evening outside the embassy's gates.
When we had conflict with Iran, all of a sudden that became, well, here's a heel, and the rest, as they say, is history.
The Iron Sheik, along with Freddie Blassie, and they are thick as thieves.
All of a sudden, he was the Iron Sheik from Tehran, and he brought a lot of heat.
The Iron Sheik! Iran! Iran! Iran!
And everybody wanted to come and see him, and hoping that he'd get beat up.
This flag was burned Tuesday evening outside the embassy's gates.
When we had conflict with Iran, all of a sudden that became, well, here's a heel, and the rest, as they say, is history.
The Iron Sheik, along with Freddie Blassie, and they are thick as thieves.
All of a sudden, he was the Iron Sheik from Tehran, and he brought a lot of heat.
The Iron Sheik! Iran! Iran! Iran!
And everybody wanted to come and see him, and hoping that he'd get beat up.
Iran #1. That's what he would say.
Iran #1! Iran!
He wanted to find an antagonist.
Iran!
to the American protagonist, what better antagonist than an Iranian?
Bunch of stupid Americans here.
When the Iron Sheik realized everybody is against this country, he ramped it up by 11 and realized that this could make him the biggest villain in wrestling. Between the accent and the look and the way he looked down on the audience and spit,
Oh, disgusting.
in the physicality of the way he brutalized opponents,
Ramming down across the back.
every territory in the United States wanted the Iron Sheik to be their top bad guy.
You say, I'm #1 America. He act like he's spitting on America, and he didn't know how to press buttons.
Now in the ring we have the Iron Sheik.
And it has happened through the years that he's dislocated his shoulder or hemorrhaged his eye and detached his retina and of course hurt his ankle and different things. But unlike anyone I've ever met, he is so strong. And he came from a background of Russian Olympic coaches and U.S. Olympic coaches that taught him that you must continue even though you're hurt. You must go on. And he's always done that. In fact, the sad thing is he once broke his ankle and taped it back up and went out there and worked some more. And of course, that's not the best thing you can do naturally. But at the time, he just never even gave it another thought. The show must go on, was his mentality.
This is a man in severe pain who also blamed himself largely for what happened to his daughter because he felt that if he'd been a better role model, his daughter might have made better choices, and all he was doing was punishing himself.
This was his biggest loss, and there was nothing he could do about it, and that was the most frustrating thing for him. And so he kept on going to a darker place through this era.
There was an incident where the daughter's killer was in court, and the Sheik put a razor blade in his mouth, and he was planning to go up to the front of the courtroom and cut the man's throat.
Yeah, my plan, I kill him and take his head off. But if I kill the guy, still my daughter is gone anyway.
He was ready to go to prison for the rest of his life to get revenge. And fortunately, his family physically leaned their bodies against him to prevent him from doing that.
They said, "No, Daddy, I can't lose you. I just lost my sister. I can't lose my dad."
I think that resonated with him, and that's why he didn't, at that moment, come at him.
The man was not attacked. He went back to his cell, and the Sheik's surviving children still had their father. After the Iron Sheik's daughter died, there wasn't much positivity in the Iron Sheik's life. He really was a lost soul, and he didn't have a lot to look forward to. And then 2005, WWE decides to induct the major stars of WrestleMania 1 into the Hall of Fame, including the Iron Sheik.
I could stand up here for many, many hours talking about the Iron Sheik.
It's a real life story, and the Hall of Fame means everything to us because it means we're recognized by our business and by our peers.
Oh, to the Hall of Fame was a great feeling, and people was delighted. They were so excited, very happy to see me.
Thank you, sir.
It really meant a lot to him, and even to this day, that is something he absolutely cherishes. I think that was the highlight of his life, and he just let everything out on all the hardships he had endured over the years to get to that point.
I used to drive the truck, put on the ring, pick up the ring, and I was referee. I pay my due.
It was Sheik's moment in the sun, and Sheik got exactly what he deserved. I mean, he stole the show that.
So, I take to Mr. McMahon, Senior, Junior, and Mr. Pat Patterson, no. And I tell Mr. McMahon Sr., my boss, Mr. Gania, told me, break that Hollywood blonde jabroni leg, take the belt to Minnesota. Yeah. But I tell Mr. Gania, I'm sorry.